I'm Kelly and I'm here with Karyn and here to answer your grief questions. So today's question, is it normal to feel guilty when I feel better?
Yeah. So I think we both see this a lot. It comes up pretty frequently. And I just think it's, I don't know, so much a indication of human nature and how our minds work that, when we are in the midst of that deep grief and all we want is to feel better, it's just, I'm crying all the time. I'm having a hard time making it to work. I can't get anything done. I'm not functioning. We can get to that place where we're just really sort of frozen in place and we just want to be able to move forward in some way. And inevitably, as that starts to happen for people, and whatever feeling better means for you, to me, I always say it's recognizing all old parts of yourself, not to say that you're going back to the way you were, but if you were somebody who was able to sit down and read, and that's something you really enjoyed and you kind of stopped for a while and now you're able to read again, or maybe you've been opening yourself up to a few more invitations from friends, it's usually subtle, but those things, as they start to happen, can be confusing because it's only that deep grief that I think we recognize as the connection to our loss and to our person. And we are oddly most comfortable there. We get really comfortable in an uncomfortable spot pretty quickly. And so as we're moving out of it, it's like, well, what does this mean? And is it unloving? Is it disloyal? Why am I not thinking about it all the time? So I guess the long answer that could have been a quick one is yes, it's normal, to be feeling guilty, but that I think we have to really be mindful of how fair that is and what it could actually mean to feel better and not have the follow-up emotions that come with it. I feel like so often we have an emotion come up naturally and then we doubt it. Let's even say if we are sad, oh, I'm too sad. I'm crying too much. I shouldn't be having such a hard time. Then we feel better. Then I feel bad that I'm feeling better. What does this mean? And it feels like I'm forgetting about them and I'm just moving on. And it feels very, sort of callous and heartless. And so, it's just all those layers and the torture sometimes that I think it is to be a grieving person. So what have you seen as far as this goes, Kelly?
Well, and so it happened this week. I had, we've talked about before about some of my grief retreats that I'm doing. And one of the participants I saw this week, and she's been not feeling as sad. And she's been struggling with that a little bit. Like, well, what does this mean for me and my grief? What does this mean for my connection? And so I've read her something and I want to read it to you guys as well. And it's from a book called Inspired Life, Beautiful Death by Tom Nemi. And it's all about the induced after death communication therapy that I'm trained in. And so I'm just going to read this because I read it to her and she was like, oh, just felt such relief. Many grieving clients worry about what it would mean to not feel sad anymore or to find joy, laughter, and happiness again. Is it disrespectful to the person they love? Would it mean they didn't miss their loved one as much? Only when clients were able to separate the intensity of their grief as a measure of their love for the person who died could they truly let go of those judgments. Living fully again and embracing positive emotions does not lessen the love and respect you hold for the person who passed, nor does it diminish the magnitude of your loss.
Yeah. Yeah, that's spot on. It really. Well, that's just, and that's why I try to say to people, like, your suffering is not required. It's not the only way to stay connected. It's not the only way to show yourself to them, to the world, that you love them, that you miss them. That's just a given, that grief is going to be there forever, but it's not going to always look the same. And you don't have to be crumpled in tears to be grieving. You can, be out with friends and still be grieving. You can be both things. And that's sort of what grief asks of us, is to be always sort of trying to balance a lot of emotions at one time. But I think if people can kind of let go of what that idea of what it means to be connected, to love someone, to be loyal, and to realize that they don't have to suffer in order to have those things, it can change everything. And you can allow yourself to follow this natural progression that grief will take you. And this is the part, and I get so like delicate around this word, but the idea of like the choice, that eventually what are we going to choose? and am I going to choose to allow myself to feel better if that's where I'm going? Or am I going to choose to hold on to really hard, difficult, sad feelings because that's the only way I know how? And I think we can all come up with ways to stay connected to a person that don't have to be suffering, as I said.
I agree. And I
Yeah.
think what it comes down to is it's okay if you're okay
Yeah.
at times,
Yeah.
right? We're going to oscillate. And just because you're feeling okay now doesn't mean there aren't going to be moments of grief that come up. It's just what happens, right? But it's also okay if you're having more good moments than not so good moments.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I always remember that, Kelly, because, there's the book, It's Okay If You're Not Okay. And then, you had said it's okay if you are okay. And it's like, oh, yeah, we need to remember that too, because sometimes the message goes so much the other way that it can be confusing. So,
I
yeah.
wish you'd rename it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
All right. Well, thank you, Karyn. And
Thanks,
thanks
Kelly.
to all for watching. And stay tuned for more questions from Kelly or from Karyn and I. Take care.
Okay.